Today's verse is relatively straightforward. Kai eporionto pantes apograpestai, hekastos eisten heautu pollen. And everyone was journeying to be registered or to make their registration, depending on whether you think that's middle or passive. Each to turn pollen, the city how to reflexive there of them, each their own city. We start with kai, which is usually translated as and, or also, or even. 11 sentences in these 21 verses start with it, however, and you'd never want to start that many sentences with and in English. It's a reminder that even simple words to look up work differently between languages. Kai links sentences, ideas, topics, and people. It is not a direct equivalent to and. Even where it might be, it's the kind of informal level of discourse you might find in speech rather than on paper. Mark uses it all the time, and even Luke does it frequently. It may be in part a marker of the accessible, vernacular nature of the New Testament, drawing us in, rather than reifying the text, making it into something distant and inaccessible. It asks us to consider the difference between formal and functional translations. Starting sentences with and is both bad English and misses the point of how, at a discourse level, it joins the text together. But not starting a sentence with and potentially rocks the boat of any attempts to work with a close reading of the Greek. We then have the imperfect of poriomai. This is a frustrating verb that mixes middle and passive endings and isn't always straightforward to understand. But here we have an imperfect with middle endings, which is relatively straightforward to see. It's a verb that's often used to make journeys between cities rather than just going about daily business. Here, everyone is gathering their things to start the process of making their way to their relevant cities. And pantes is your everyone. The use of everyone highlights the hyperbolic nature of the text. Rather, as we had the whole world in verse 1, we again have the verb for being registered, apograpestai, hammering home the point. The distribution of each to his own city raises a historical point about what that meant and why it was necessary, but linguistically it's not hard to read. I might have expected pros for to the city, rather than ace, into, but this kind of fluidity of prepositions makes sense in the text.